Okay, hi again. OBS decided to throw a fit. It just like went into a full temper tantrum mode and just refused to play nicely. So we're back. So the last thing I saw was a message or a comment from James suggesting a video about what is currently happening in Myriad Legends, like what is currently going on in the world of Ikoros, like a current events type video, which is sort of a lore video too. So that could be cool. Strat player, aka Adam, jumping back into discussion for next videos. We definitely need more directly gameable content, like published encounters or one-page dungeons. Gameable content. I'm gonna not try to copy and paste from OBS. I think that's what triggered its tantrum, is when I was messing with the chat box, copy and pasting stuff. I don't know if that's literally what caused it, but I'm not gonna poke that bear. I'll experiment with that some other time, such as i.e. encounters, one-page dungeons. So something that I'm going to do soon during the pre-launch marketing of Gauntlet Runner is everyone who does like a $1 deposit in advance on the Kickstarter, like basically putting like $1 down on a pledge in advance, is going to get a PDF of an exclusive Gauntlet Runner dungeon. I know that's not exactly what you've suggested there, Adam, but it made me think of that. But I'm in the process of getting that, like the playtesting finalized, getting the PDF made, and I think it's a really cool dungeon, and it's made me think like, yeah, I would like to put out more, like you said, gameable content. So if I could combine that with videos, whether the video would just promote it and give like teasers of it, or if it would actually be played through in the video, I could play it through in sort of the same presentation style I do with when people on my channel play Gauntlet Runner, or like what I've done with Monster Melee or Brothers of Fjarlstead, that where I've got like the VTT and it's commentated. So a couple different ways that could go. The different formats could all be cool. Esper cast Banish on the Watchers. No. OBS cast Hold Person on the Watchers, or Hold. I guess it'd be a construct. Our computers in the internet. Hold construct. Construct is paralyzed. Ignores immunity to paralysis. The forces of evil cannot stop the bard. The evil internet gremlins. Birdie Sanders, do you have any advice for creating a goddess of dreams and time? I'll take that more as a general advice. Advice on creating deities. That's something I could talk about for sure. Myriad Legends as a campaign setting is essentially mythic fantasy. Now there's many influences in there. There's swords and sorcery. There's like new school high fantasy. There's dark fantasy. There's just like classic fantasy in there, coming from Tolkien and whatnot. But I think the best descriptor would be mythic fantasy, right? It has a mythic tone to it, where it's this older world, antiquity to early Middle Ages inspired. The gods are it's like gods and religion and mystical things. Those are strong elements. Gods often are involved with plots and mortal dramas and adventures and curses and blessings and transformations, and there's a big emphasis on developing the deities and the beings of power and the cosmology, and like making that have good writing and good consistency. So that could be a cool topic for a video. Marshall Aurelius, do you plan on covering any non-D&D games, possibly from the OSR or anything like that? I'm open to it. For a couple months there, I was having a kick of trying out non-D&D games, and some of them were OSR games. I'd like to continue sampling more games so that I could get more exposure and I get ideas from them. I see things that I like and I don't like, and I learn from those mechanics and different approaches and different styles that are used to, to create a game. And then potentially it could lead to a video topic. I mean, I did one video about Shadow Dark and also comparing Shadow Dark to D&D. I kind of wish I'd done that video slightly differently. I think I was a little too harsh in it. But it was, the first time I'd really done that kind of video, like reviewing a non-D&D game and comparing it to D&D, and it's a little bit out of my normal realm, but I found it worthwhile, and I'd like to do some more videos like that. So far, I haven't found anything that I like better than D&D. Now, there are specific things I like in other games better than the way D&D does those specific things. I'll use Shadow Dark just as a reference. Like, I like how Shadow Dark handles inventory management better than how D&D handles inventory management. And I like how Shadow Dark is a little bit more bold, right? It's not afraid to be kind of brutal. To be very brutal, I think it's actually a little potentially too brutal compared to like the superhero characters of D&D. I like the art style of Shadow Dark quite a bit. I don't think, like, if it were my book, I wouldn't want it to be all that art style, but some of it, that art style, I love that, like, old school inked swords and sorcery look. That's like, I grew up on that stuff, so I do like it. You will see when you see Gauntlet Runner in all of its glory, you will see how there's so many different styles of art in there. I really like artists expressing themselves and creating in their own styles, and encouraging that. And I'm an artist, so I'm particularly I have a deep, firsthand experience, but a deep valuing of the creative process to an artist's process. Now, there are some styles that don't fit with Myriad Legends, with the campaign setting, right? Like anime and like silly, goofy things, cartoony things, steampunk, and like modern stuff, and guns, and right, there are a number of things that don't fit, but there are a lot of things that do fit. So when you see Gauntlet Runner, you're going to see there's some stuff that looks like old school swords and sorcery, and there's other things that kind of will be reminiscent of like Darkest Dungeon, and then other things are like modern fantasy digital paintings, but not like the shiny plastic sterile digital paintings, more like textured digital paintings that have that like draw inspiration from traditional techniques. And some of it is a little more pulp, and then others is like much more serious. Some of it's very mystical, and then others is kind of more heavy metal. And there's crossovers between all those things. So I like a lot of that. I think we have a super chat here, so let me check on that. Great question there, Marshall. I'm not sure if that is a super chat or not. I'm not sure what that red message. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry. Etching. Oh, wow. That's a fantastic super chat. Thank you very much for your abundant generosity. Here's something to say. Thanks for the books and the newsletter. Reading them has been a great distraction for me from stress. Oh, man. I've actually been under tremendous stress for the past few months, just because I'm working way too much and on many different things. So I'm like getting stretched out in all these different directions and not sleeping enough. Plus, like, I have a very, very wild family. So knowing that I've helped someone else de-stress is really, really cool to hear. I'm so happy that that's been that way for you. I've said it before, and I'll repeat it, forever, that my big dream is to inspire people, to share the creativity that comes to me, the ideas or like the motivation that comes to me, and then to, kind of remix it in my own way and create something and send it out into the world, and then other people spark off of that energy, spark off of that creative inspiration, and then they go on to whatever it is. Maybe they will also create something, or they will, pick up the phone and contact some buddies and like get a game going, or maybe they'll write a short story or do a drawing, or whatever it is that you've done, whether it could be as simple as relaxing and immersing into the fantasy world. That's my big dream, is to kind of, because I like to think that I follow this like call to adventure, and to like bring others along with me and immerse into these mythic worlds. That's the big dream. So really glad to hear that, and hopefully you will be able to endure your stressful chapter that you find yourself in, and find new resilience and courage, and come out the other side hale and hearty. Glenn, what I was going to say was I played off of my first edition AD&D books for like 35 years. Never ran out of materials. The best RPG books are that way. The very greatest works of RPG books, like they're works of art. And real works of art, true works of art, are deep things. They've got a lot of stuff connected to them, a lot of things like relying on them, and they have that quality. They tap into something timeless, and they don't really run out. Now, rules like specific mechanics, okay, sure, those can eventually have an expiration date to them, or at least that you would need to like adapt those rules into the way the current mechanics function. But there's a lot to the books that if they're a great book, like you could flip through it and see the art, see the lore, see the stories, see the like ideas behind them, see the adventures, and like if they were great then, they're going to continue to be great. I mean, I would like to think that the best art ages like fine wine, and your appreciation for it gets better over time. But yeah, I've got books on my shelf that, like, I've been reading those things since before I even knew how to play D&D. I would go to the bookstore and pick up, like, Monster Manual 3 is the one that always comes to my mind first, because I used to go to the Borders or Barnes & Noble here in my city and just look at Monster Manual 3 and look at the illustrations and read the lore, and was just enthralled by it, but I didn't know how to play the game, but I didn't know what the mechanics meant. And then eventually I learned how to play a D&D proper, and then went on to like create D&D stuff, and still to this day I read that book, and it's inspiring to me. Brunch Princess, greetings all, first time here, welcome. Crush Pusher, a video on how to run the more evil aspects of Fae would be cool to see. There are so many little things that Fae do, like stealing names and cursing, that could be great in a fleshed out game. Okay. Evil when it comes to Fae. Well, one of the most evil kinds of creatures in D&D and in fantasy in general is Fae, the hag. Now, here and there are a couple hags that are technically fiends, like the Night Hag or the Cinder Hag in Esper's Emporium of Esoterica. But originally they were Fae. They were just Fae that became so corrupted, fully corrupted, so that they transformed into fiends. So yeah, hags are rotten, nasty, evil things. That's a great example of evil Fae and a great launching point. Jorm Rising, hey, got to make a live stream. Welcome, Jorm. So I guess the Saturday evening has turned out to actually be a fairly cool time to do this. I might try another Saturday evening one. The Brass Dragon. Any other monster melees planned, particularly involving Brass Dragon, maybe? I don't have super solid plans for Monster Melee, but I have general plans, as in I will be making some more at some point. I just don't know exactly when or exactly what. I like brass dragons for sure. I like all the like core chromatic and metallics, and even some of the more rare or esoteric ones, like the iron dragon and brown dragon and such. Keep it in mind, I've already done a few dragons, so I might actually try to get to all the different major dragons. But yeah, at some point, sooner or later, in some way, there'll be more Monster Melee and presumably more Brotherhood of Fjarlstead. Glenn, Morpheus the Dreamer. A video about Morpheus. Okay. Or maybe Morpheus, or just Myriad Legends deities. Okay. Good suggestion. I'm making notes on all these. Like I said, I'm not going to tamper with actually clicking into the chat box, because that's what I was doing last time when OBS decided to have its freak out. Mark Stebbins, how are you feeling about the feedback about your monster characters now that now that Myriad Legends has been active for a bit? So there's actually a lot of people playing monstrous characters in Myriad Legends. Not every region allows monster characters. And some regions, the GM will only allow just like certain ones that fit the story, which is cool because we've got like a consistency and a lore going on in the world. And then other regions like the Gauntlet Sprawl, like where Gauntlet Runner is happening, that's just kind of open to any kind of character. So I feel good. How do I feel about the feedback? I felt good about the feedback of Monstrous Heroes kind of all throughout. It's a project that started off with just like super blazing hot inspiration and motivation, and that continued blazing hot for a while, and then getting around the mark of like 1 3/4 of a year of working on it constantly, that shifted, and it wasn't really like blazing hot anymore. It was just more, it shifted from like blazing hot inspiration to cold iron determination. Like, I'm gonna get this thing done. I'm gonna slay this Kraken. So the feedback, I'm very blessed with the feedback that I get. Part of it, it's just the way that I've attempted to position my channel, like the way I've tried to convey myself in my videos and my content all along, where I try not to get too flame war oriented or too much into muck slinging. I try to kind of raise the bar on things and not bog down too much into immaturity and nastiness, because, well, there's a number of reasons. One is I think it's a bad long-term strategy to be too mucking around and being like controversial and too spicy and too like button pushing, and I'm not trying to be like a provocateur. So, and I try to generally play things like kind of open-hearted, genuine. So that, I think people appreciate that and vibe off of that, and people that don't like it, it kind of filters them out to go into more like spicy, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here, more sassy smack talking channels, or more just kind of troll stomping ground type territories. So another benefit of that is, or another reason and another benefit is that I want open feedback and genuine feedback, so that way I can know when I should make adjustments or improvements, like when I'm doing something that's just a bad idea or dumb or whatnot. It's helpful. I try to read and listen to all the feedback that I get just across the board, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. Specific to Monstrous Heroes, we did quite a bit of play testing and quite a bit of calls for feedback, so it went through a lot of development. And my books, my adventures, all the stuff that I publish, I craft them quite a bit. That's kind of why they take a while, as I revise and really they have a very crafted quality to them. And I'm trying to maintain like high quality products and great adventures, great player options. That's really big to me. Like inspiring art, really creative, cool, dynamic art. The art is a huge part of it for me. So I haven't gotten too much just like purely nasty criticism, like purely negative criticism about Monstrous Heroes, but I also don't get a lot of purely nasty criticism or hate just in general. So Monstrous Heroes pretty much just was in the same way that the feedback that I usually get goes, right? Where there's some that's like hyper positive, there's some that's mostly positive but with some constructive criticism, there's some that's basically just all constructive criticism, not really any praise, but just purely constructive criticism. And then there's some that's not constructive at all, just total hatred. People on the internet, anonymous, I don't think that they like really are meaning legitimate hatred. Like they want me to like, die in a tank full of electric eels or something. But it's just more like generalized, like, I don't like this thing, I think it's terrible, and just like the smack talking and muck flinging. That's a smaller percentage of things. It's awesome to see so many people playing content from my book. Relating back to what I said just a little bit ago about my big dream is to share the inspiration with other people. Because I find so much inspiration in so many things, creations of great minds and talented individuals, and the lives of certain people, and nature and music, and there's just so much amazing inspiration, and I feel so blessed to get to have this privileged life. We all kind of have this very privileged life where we're not like, cavemen chewing on a beetle so that we don't die of starvation, and like we have so much like amazing works of art and amazing things right at our fingertips. And it's a miracle what we have, and it's just so amazing to get to experience that. And for me to create my things and like contribute my little bit to the human drama and the human endeavor, and then other people click with it and connect with it, and then they go and do something with it, and they go and play something from Monstrous Heroes or Esper's Emporium, and like play in this world of adventure that we're collaborating on together. It's amazing. I'm not gonna like break down crying on the stream or anything, but it's very moving to me. It's a dream come true, and I'm just so amazingly appreciative and grateful to everyone. And I'm aiming for the next level higher with Gauntlet Runner. Like I'm trying to get up, like raise the bar even another level there. Jorm Rising, Jorm, thank you so much. A great patron, a grand patron, even I can say now. With a super chat. I love Myriad Legends and have been greatly enjoying several regions, but I am itching to see when Drakengrim is going to be released for us to sink our teeth into. Any plans to unlock it for play? Yes. They're not set in stone plans yet. It's like not on deck, but it's like waiting in the wings. So part of the tremendous work that's been overwhelming me for the past while here has been getting the campaign setting document ready. I use that in quotes because, revisions are ongoing. So got version 1 done like 1 week ago. Say like a week ago now. The time is kind of in a blur for me. And then release that to our Discord community, to the Myriad Legends community campaign. Already at version 1.2, and then 1.3 is going to be coming pretty soon. And in that one, it has a lot of details and like world building lore for the realms of Basgon, Hanura, Magnaland, Niperna, Jaya. My rough plan is for version 2, so not version 1 point whatever, but like version 2, the next like big major release, is going to have that like lore and world building details for Drekengrim, Linenapwa, and Sarzalam. I think probably those 3. Now, you also asked unlocking for play. So, Drekengrim being unlocked for play then would happen after version 2, naturally, because that's when it'll be in the campaign setting document that we use now, like our foundational document to play Myriad Legends, to play the community campaign. So the first question really is, when will GMs be establishing regions, like the like GMs from the last wave of GMs? When will some of those guys like plant their flags in regions abroad in the world and not only be doing Gauntlet Runner dungeon runs? Very soon. And so like we'll start seeing some Hanura games and some other GMs going to, the ones that I just mentioned, to the realms that I just mentioned. When will that happen? Pretty soon. I don't know exactly yet. There's going to be a video about our community campaign and a call for new applicant GMs. Next week is the plan for that. And then the reason that I'm kind of hesitant here is I'm trying to line things up with the Gauntlet Runner pre-launch marketing and people that will come in from that, and then like the Kickstarter release, because like Gauntlet Runner is the current season of Myriad Legends. Like that's the big world event going on in Ikoros right now. So when will some GMs go and establish some regions in Hanura and other places? Probably pretty soon. It could be as early as here in like 2 or 3 weeks. It might be after, probably after the pilot sessions of the next wave of applicants. That's probably what makes the most sense, because it seems that's kind of a lot to do at the same time, to be setting up GMs in their own regions and to be responding to applicant GMs and running pilot sessions and doing the assessments. So yeah, it'll probably be after the next wave of applicant GMs. Then we'll have people from the previous wave establishing regions in other realms of Ikoros. And then there'll be like the Gauntlet Runner Kickstarter, and then that will be its whole thing. And then once I get the Gauntlet Runner book like ready, because that's going to be like top priority, getting that all finished and finalized, and that will take a few months or so. Then once Gauntlet Runner the book is finalized, then I'll probably be turning towards, okay, we need the next big version of the campaign setting doc. Let's get Drekengrim fleshed out, and Linenapwa and Sarzalam, and whatever else will be coming along with whatever version 2 ends up being. So Thank you for your patience and allowing me to like think out loud and talk out loud a plan there. Another super chat came through. Michael Pham. Thank you very much, Michael, for your generosity and your gold pieces. Hail, Lord Esper. Wow. You're honoring me. Wow, Lord Esper. Perhaps you could do a modern update to the outdated alignment / morality systems of D&D. This tool used to guide one's character sheet remains flawed, but still known to today's games. I like alignment having an impact on the role-playing game. I think it's an element that's woven into the fabric of the game, and if we take that element out, the fabric becomes thinner. Finding the right way to implement alignment can be tricky. So what I've done with my last couple books is there are a bit of mechanics in there that do relate to alignment. For example, there's a spell for each of the alignments, and the effects of the spell are meant to kind of express evil, good, law, or chaos. And creatures, just any kind of creature that is subjected to the spell, and that creature has the opposite alignment, they have disadvantage on their saving throw. So if the good aligned spell is cast on an evil creature, it has disadvantage on the saving throw. And conversely, anyone who has the same alignment as that spell has advantage. So the good aligned spell cast on a good aligned creature, that creature has advantage on the saving throw. And there's a couple creatures that have like special abilities that relate to alignment in a way. There's not a lot of those kinds of mechanics though, but there are some. 3rd edition had even more mechanics that tied to alignments. There's something deep about alignments, even though, as you said, they have their flaws, the way in which they get expressed, the way in which the different writers of the books talk about them. There are imperfections to them. And the concept itself is not a perfect concept either, because there's evil, but then there's like gray area evil, and there's good, but then there's also like you're kind of good, but you're kind of in the gray area, and there's law, aka order, but then there's a little bit of it, and there's chaos, but then there's this semi-chaotic, right? If we think of it as a spectrum between good to one end and evil to the other end, there's a point where they cross over into neutral or some gray area, and that's not a clear line when one alignment ends and the next one begins. Same with law and chaos, right? When does something go from near to far, right? Like I have this object here, so this is near to me, and then that book back there, is that near or is that far? I mean, it is kind of relative. I mean, it's kind of far away. I mean, I can't reach over and pick it up, but compared to like a whole different city on the planet, it's extremely near to me. And if I set this across a table from me, is it now far or is it near? When does blue become green? There are very, very blurry lines in there. That said, it's my observation, and if I could maybe devote a whole video to this, I can maybe elaborate on my reasons for this. It's my observation that if you remove alignment from the game's worse for it. Some of the fabric of the game gets thin, one of the like supports that was holding up something in the game is gone now, and now part of the game is not as stable anymore, or it's not as strong, or it's gonna you're gonna have some kind of breakdown, despite the fact that these concepts of good and evil, law and chaos, are imperfect, and we flawed human beings have imperfect expressions of them. The part that does function, the part that is useful, is so strong. It's so strong and it's so rich. Why? Because a game like Dungeons and Dragons is at its core a mythic experience where people go on heroes' journeys, and alignments relate to archetypes. They relate to mythic archetypes. So it's like chaos is the trickster or the dragon, and evil is, you know, like the fiend or the evil king or the evil queen, the demon, the vampire, the torturer, and law is like the judge, and good is like the good king, the just king, and the good queen, and the good father, and the good mother, and the hero who has like the noble heart, who confronts the evil terror that's in the darkness of the dungeon, of the cave, and slays the monster and recovers the treasure, the elixir, the wisdom, the captured maiden, and brings it back to the community to enrich everybody, to help everybody. So those archetypes are so powerful, and they're like at the core, at the foundation of, it's like they're at the foundation, and then resting on top of that is like hero's journey, like universal human life experience of hero's journey. And then on top of that, like resting on top of that then is like adventure stories and fantastical stories and mythology and legends and folktale. And then resting on top of that is the fantasy genre as a whole. And then resting on top of that is role-playing games, right? It's like, that's why it's so deep, because there's so many things that depend on it. It's so far down there that other structures need that underneath it for them to even function. It's like the foundation of a house. You have to have that foundation there for the house to even stand up and be a house, for the building to be a structure. And if you have structural damage, you're weakening the entire structure of the whole house. And even worse, if the foundation gets destroyed, there's an earthquake, or I don't know, there's some kind of like giant machine that like rips out the concrete, or rips out the fusings. Fusings? That's not a technical term, but the like giant beams that are like fused into the foundation. If something like rips that out, this is going to collapse. So I understand that people have their criticisms of the alignment system and see its flaws, and that's a topic that's worth thinking about and talking about and seeing if we can't make some forward progress on it. I highly encourage everyone to approach that topic with reverence, because we're dealing with something very deep that our whole like RPG experience is relying on it, and like movies rely on it, and books rely on it, and video games are like all these human works. Whenever you're telling any kind of story about someone confronting some kind of conflict, this is always going to rely on it. That's why you can find like alignment chart images or alignment chart memes for almost any game or book or movie or whatever piece of media. So yeah, I highly encourage everyone to treat that with some due reverence, and to be very careful about ripping too much out of it. Yeah, I I could talk a lot about that. I'm going to make a note about that as a video topic. Alignment. I might reference back to that ramble there, because that could be a video there too. As usual, I get very long-winded and I lose the where I was at in on the comments. Let me see if there's any other suggestions that I'd like to touch on, or any other questions that'd be good to take. Not your echo. Alignment is a good general shortcut for the table, player included, to understand the inclinations and motivations of a character. It says a lot on who a character is without a lot of words. Well said. Yeah, well said. When I've been developing the gods for Ikoros, what I do is I put their alignment on one line. Then on the next line, I put alignment spectrum, which goes into the different alignment, maybe expressions that could be associated with that god. We could also think of it as the kinds of alignments that worshippers, and especially clerics of that god, would possess. So, for example, Sortiza the Weaver, goddess of fate and the ocean and travel. Her alignment is neutral. That's her main alignment, is neutral. Because if you are to be truly a deity of fate, that would include the fates of all kinds of different people, and you need to be more calling them to follow their fate as opposed to telling them what to do or dictating to them, right? Call to adventure as opposed to like master of puppets, right? As opposed to like controlling that person and using some kind of force to make that mortal serve your bidding. However, that said, she's not just 100% perfect, 100% omnipotent. The gods aren't like that. They're obviously extremely powerful, but they're not like maxed out perfect. She is aligned with, associated with a couple other gods that are good aligned gods. There's these three gods: Illis the Lantern, Dionysus the Fury, Sortiza the Weaver, known as the gods of light, also known as the Triumvirate. And when push comes to shove, she fights against evil. When push comes to shove, she views evil as corrupting people away from their destiny, getting people off their path, right? Their path to become like who they could be, like their highest calling. Evil is a force that twists people off their path and kind of manipulates and corrupts people. And so she is solidly an opponent of evil and is aligned with these other good aligned gods and is one of the deities of light, and in the end does fight against evil. So her alignment spectrum is neutral, neutral good, chaotic neutral, lawful neutral, chaotic good, lawful good. So any non-evil. So I could see a worshiper of Sortiza, and especially a cleric of Sortiza, being any of those alignments on her spectrum. I'll see where that leads. That this idea, this concept of the main alignment and then the alignment spectrum, to express maybe a more fleshed out picture of the different behaviors and patterns, and like the complete picture of the spirit of that deity, which I don't know, maybe other creatures and characters and mortals also could follow in that same vein. As Echo just said a little bit ago, it's also simple. A lot of very powerful and deep things get expressed in a very short number of words. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's better just to leave it simpler. Super interesting topic. I I'm very interested in making a video about this now. I've done some other videos on alignments before, and I always find them very interesting and thought-provoking, and I always learn something from them. Strat player, again, commenting that we need some more gameable content, like published encounters or one-page dungeons. Agreed. I would definitely like to do more of that. I've talked with my wife about this recently, and a couple other good friends about it, that really I should be publishing more adventures. And I could see myself publishing a variety of different kinds of adventures. I could do some that I'll probably put out there for free, others that I'll put out there like as a product that is something on my shop for people to purchase, and what determines what they're well, how much work goes into it. Sometimes I just have this general balance that I keep in my mind of like, how much do I put out there for free? How much do I put out there as paid content? And I try to keep a good balance of that. Like I want to put out a lot of free stuff. I try to keep a pretty high volume of free things. I really want to focus first and foremost on providing value to people and providing inspiration to people and content, and give a lot, and then ask. So a lot of comments about the alignment topic. Let me see if there's one other topic I could get into here before wrapping up. Okay, so might wrap up there. Oh, Jorm coming through with another super request. Jorm, much appreciation to you. Once again, the gold pieces are extremely useful and helpful. Monster melee request. I'd be interested to see how Vinatoxis Verzathorst handles some big bads you could muster. I know it's a bias, but my money is on my big gray baby. Oh, okay. That actually relates to another idea I've had, where I need to, or would like to, feature more content from the newsletters in videos, and Monster Melee would be a great way to do that. Vinatoxis. Okay, Vinatoxis in a Monster Melee. See what I can do. Just to let everyone know, or fill everyone in, that the drawing that I did earlier in part 1 of the stream, one of the optional rewards is that the patron can provide the concept for a monster or an NPC, and then I will flesh that out and create that and put it in the next issue of the newsletter. So that was Jorm's concept from some months ago, at Epic Dragon Monster. Mr. Fluga, the stream proceeds on with another super chat. You guys have been extremely generous and gracious to me this stream, and I find that to be so, I'm honored by that. So thank you. Fluga, also someone who has played in some adventures with me and has been a wonderful ally for many months now. Years, really. Years at this point. Hey there, Esper. Has there been any lore created by the Myriad Legends DMs that has really inspired or surprised you that you may implement into the official lore document? Also, remember to advertise your books on stream. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. I do need to advertise my books on stream. Down in the video description, everybody, there is a link to my online shop where you can find Monstrous Heroes, Esper's Emporium of Esoterica, some adventure modules of mine, and some map packs. So make sure to check that out if you have not yet. There's also a free content section on there as well. There's free stuff to download. So those are my creations, full of all kinds of adventure, fueling, lore, player options, DM content, all kinds of things to really enrich and enhance your role-playing games, your D&D games, or I'm sure you could adapt them to all kinds of other systems as well. Now, question. Has there been any lore concepts provided by Myriad Legends DMs that really inspired or surprised me. Let me think of an example. There have been some great ones. So concepts, people submitting concepts to me in general, it's part of my creative process as an artist, writer, whatever you want to label it. And some concepts that people send me, I'm able to use them pretty much as they are. Then other people's concepts, or just other concepts, I can use them with revision, with a significant amount of editing. And then other concepts, I can't use them. But even if I can't use them, they are helpful, because since I'm kind of always creating, I need a lot of fuel in the tank. I need a lot of steam behind me to just kind of day in, day out, create. So when I get a concept that's one that I can't use, it still puts fuel in the tank. It still gives me a basis of comparison where I go, okay, that doesn't fit for the current thing, right? For the subject at hand, it just doesn't fit it well enough. It's not the right fit. Okay, so now I know what's not the right fit. So thus I now see the direction that I do need to go in. So it gets the gears turning. It gets the ball rolling. It's thought-provoking. It can even lead to me figuring out what is the right fit pretty quickly, because I don't know, my mind works that way. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like, I can't use that, but for some reason it just made me think of this other thing, and then that other thing I could use. Like a good friend of me, he gave me a bunch of concepts for the regional gods of the realm of Gildas the First Paradise. So he sent me this like Word document essentially of concepts for Gildensi gods, and like half of them I wasn't able to use them, but for some reason my mind does this thing where it's like, can't use that, but boom, your thing A somehow made my imagination like produce thing B. I sometimes go to a random image generator website. It's such a cool website, and just using and they're always very interesting images, super interesting images. I like this website a lot. I'd recommend it. And for some reason, just looking at these random images makes my mind like play off of them, and I don't know what it is. It's mysterious to me, but it's like, oh, this literally this is one that happened today. Like a very zoomed in image of a snowflake. So it's like the ice crystal structure. Boom. The Magnaland god Minagal the Heartflame was slain by the goddess Almalika the Broodmother. She's the one that killed him. And when he died, these like vibrant multi-hued flames erupted from his body, and his body like hardened into this charred statue, like a burned statue. That's his corpus idol. That's in Magnaland. I now know he's a summer god. He died in winter, and his like arcane essence like radiating out of him, these multicolored flames infused into these ice crystals, and they turned into these creatures called Thanox, crystalline spiders, which this was another concept sent to me by a patron, by the way, with like multicolored gems wings. And that's the origin of that monster in the world, from looking at a picture of a snowflake. So yeah, my brain's weird. Two come to mind, two DM's concepts. Ogre Knight, his region, Virinth Port and Bazagon, and the like over boss of that region, and then I say region, district. Each district in Bazagon City is almost like a region. It's like its own self-contained city or mega dungeon. And I need to turn on some light here. his has like these giant pillars that hold up this palace with hanging gardens, and the pillars are so massive that they have like guild halls and shops inside of these like hollowed out pillars. And then there are these like deeper levels, like mega dungeon style levels underneath the surface level, and there's this group that controls the food production. That he called them the Baker's Dozen, but I talked to him and got a new name figured out, which is the feeders. I've written a lot over the past few weeks, guys. Some of the details escape me. They're called like the feeders. There's a name that worked out better. And they control the food production, and they have sort of like a tyrannical iron grip of the people that are living in these undercity areas because they control the food. Yeah, it's that whole setup. That was really cool. JK's region, Chateau Claire, and his Chateau Claire citadel, this like elven citadel coming up out of the coastal waters, and the elf lord, this like elven lord who has a title. The title's escaping me now, like the sovereign one or something. It has been made into this almost like living god in this realm. And it almost reminded me of the tribunal gods from Morrowind, which is like my favorite video game ever. Just that microcosm unto itself that he created, I found that particularly inspiring. Gosh, the Veravia stones, like way out in the far misbegotten desolation, frozen, desolate tundra of eastern Nepurna. There's this holy site that like I was able to draw some ideas from it, and then it gave me some that thing happened, right, where like one idea sparked another idea, and we like set up this mythic site like way out in the dangerous, desolate, frozen tundra of East Nepurna, where it's this like pilgrimage site for higher level or very hardy Varavian characters. That's like one of the religions that follows that triumvirate of the three gods of light. And the pilgrims go there and even sacrifice a bit of their blood, and the stones absorb the blood. And it was the site of this clash between deities in the ancient past. Yes, there were lots of concepts that I thought were really, really cool. Oh my gosh, another super chat. Lord of the... It's cutting off. Lord of the something. Beast? Anyhow, thank you very much, Lord, for the super chat. Hey, Esper, a little off topic, but are you going to continue the Brotherhood saga? Yes, I will. When will I? I don't know, but I will. I have this half of an idea cooking. Tell me if you like this idea. In the spirit of Gauntlet Runner, as I get into the pre-launch marketing, maybe I can find a way to do a Brotherhood of Fjarlstead video, like their next chapter. Not in Gauntlet Runner. Obviously, they're not going to suddenly appear in Bazagon City, but inspired by Gauntlet Runner, because they could get themselves on their next adventure into a dungeon where they get trapped into the dungeon, and there's a time pressure, and they have to go through a gauntlet of challenges where it's pretty much like back-to-back dangerous rooms, and like maybe find this one sanctuary to get a short rest in, and the clock is ticking, so to speak. There's time pressure, and can they make it through this gauntlet of perils and dangers of monsters, traps, puzzles, whatever it might be. So it's like the Brotherhood of Fjarlstead style Gauntlet Runner, like a Gauntlet Runner inspired. That could totally fit. I mean, the last episode they had where they went into the Barrow of the Winterborn, like that's almost that, right? That's 75% of the way there already. So it would just be something maybe along those veins. It's easily could fit. I'm making a note of that. That could be really cool. Brotherhood of Fjarlstead inspired by Gauntlet Runner. Cool. Lord of the Beans. Thank you. Lord of the Beans. James, anything from Brotherhood would be great, but a Gauntlet Runner style would be incredible. And the Lord of the Beans himself. And I love that idea. Maybe the Etten boss you foreshadowed in episode 3 can make an appearance. I don't think they're ready for the Etten boss yet. I hope that they reach the point where they can take on that Etten boss and get their sweet vengeance for the sacking of Fjarlstead. They're not ready yet, though. They probably get clobbered. Mr. Fluga! I think everyone that watches the Brotherhood videos are frothing at the mouth for more. Jorm Rising Brotherhood equals human superiority. Okay, I get the message, guys. I need to get on the ball with the Brotherhood. I miss them. I miss those guys. Yeah. I've been just kind of... It's a mixture of things. One, I've just been so ridiculously overwhelmed busy. And then the other is just I'm kind of waiting on them to speak to me. Those characters, they've kind of taken on a life of their own. So I'm kind of waiting for those spirits to come to the Bard's abode and regale me with the next tale of, like one of their forays, right? One of their great adventures, one of their misbegotten, far-flung tales. So, James, they should finish. They meet Esper the Bard. For Elmar the Brave, for Elmar, his spirit lives on with us, but he is now in the hereafter joined with his beloved Helga. Was that his name of his wife who perished in the Etten attack? He's with his beloved wife and family in the afterlife. All right, so we'll wrap things up there. It's a good note to end on. I don't know if I can end on a stronger note than a cheers to the Brotherhood of Fjarlstead. Thanks, guys. This has been an amazing Bardstream. I've really liked this one, and the amount of super chats has just been I've been gobsmacked, been left nearly speechless by the outpouring of support. So thanks, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing you all around, whether you're on the Discord server. Links to the Discord server is down in the video description, by the way, if anyone wants to join on there. So see you on Discord or around the channel and videos and such very soon. So thanks, everyone. Have a good one, and may your adventures be many.